Here in the beautiful land of Japan, we find an ancient sport that dates back to the 8th century. A sport that combines sheer strength with balanced technique. And we're privileged today to learn more about it by two of Hawaii's champions. Nanakuli native Saleva'a Atesanoi, better known as Konishiki, and Waianae boy Fiamalu Penetani, better known as Musashi Maru. These two gentle giants are from the west side of Hawaii. In fact, Konishiki and I both grew up on the same street in Nanakuli, but in different generations. As the first non-Japanese born wrestler to reach Ozeki, Konishiki was a catalyst of popularizing the sport of sumo in Hawaii. Musashi Maru was the second non-Japanese born wrestler to reach the rank of Yokozuna, and he continues to train young sumo wrestlers in his Musashigawa stable. These two are national heroes and an inspiration to many across the world, here in Japan, but also in the islands of Hawaii. They're not only big in size, but big in heart, always giving back to their people and their community in service and charity. Gentle giants, local boys, never forgetting where they came from. Sumo is a contact sport, where two giants face off and attempt to force one another out of the ring or to the ground. Usually the biggest, the fastest, and the strongest are the winners. But during my time with Konishiki and Musashi Maru, I learned that it doesn't always require size, speed, or strength to win. Sometimes all it requires is the endurance of holding on. During the opening of ancient sumo tournaments, ritual dances were performed which depicted the fighter wrestling with an invisible being named Kami. A Kami is the Japanese word for God. And so this ancient ritual sumo dance was a representation of man fighting with God himself. And upon learning this, my mind couldn't help but think of a similar story found in the ancient words of the Holy Bible. In Genesis 32, the Bible tells us the story of the patriarch Jacob, who prayed for God's help against his enemy. While wrestling with the Lord in prayer, suddenly Jacob was overtaken by an unknown being, whom he began to wrestle with all night long. But then, at the rising of the sun, this unknown being touched Jacob's leg, causing his thigh to become dislocated. And now Jacob realizes that he had been wrestling with a supernatural being with supernatural strength. He had been fighting against the very one who came to save him from his troubles in answer to his prayer. The angel of the Lord then commanded Jacob, "Let me go, for the day breaks." But Jacob knows that if he lets go, all hope will be lost. His only hope is to hold on to the one who had all power. And so, with no more physical strength to fight on, he holds on to this supernatural being with the power of faith and the strength of surrender. He says to the angel of the Lord, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." Jacob has no speed, size, or strength against this heavenly opponent. All he had was faith. And so with his faith, he held on to God. He would not let God leave him, and he pleaded to God to give him the blessed assurance of spiritual strength and merciful deliverance. And as a result, Jacob won an incredible spiritual victory. His name was then changed to Israel, which means Prince of God. He was wrestling with God, and he prevailed by faith. Sometimes, like Jacob, we too face difficulties in life that have the power to crush us like a Japanese sumo wrestler. Financial troubles, relational issues, health challenges, mental breakdowns, spiritual failures. At times, the pressures of life push us out of the ring of God's peace. At times, we fall in failure, and we don't have the strength to stand our own ground against our adversary. In times like these, we need to join Jacob in hanging on by faith to the unseen God, the one who has supernatural power to hold us up in the sumo match of life. For in this fight of faith, victory is not given to the biggest and the fastest and the strongest, but rather it is given to the weakest, who relies most implicitly upon he who is the strongest. That is the mighty Yokozuna in heaven, the grand heavenly champion, Jesus Christ, the one who has the power to give us the victory over every enemy that seeks to bring us down in this life. And so today, I invite you to stop fighting against God, but rather hang tight to him in faith. Make a commitment that in your darkest hour, you will not let God go. You will not give up on your faith. For faith is the victory that overcomes the world. And with that spiritual victory is the guarantee that one day, we're going to stand tall as spiritual giants and champions of faith in the eternal land of the true risen Son.